Hey, welcome back to Video Game Tester 101. My name is Lawrence. I'm a guy who's been in QA, video game QA for a little bit, who knows a thing or two, and just trying to share that experience with you guys. So, you guys want to hear about my first 24-hour shift um, in video game testing, video game QA? Okay, so let's talk about this. Is the video game, the 24-hour shift is one of those mythical kind of shifts that people know about. They and I don't even know if it's this was in when I was in California. I don't know if it's legal in various states. I don't know if it's something where companies don't do it anymore. But it's something I knew about. And usually the 24-hour shift comes uh, on the eve of the game's release or close to the time where they stop they stop everything in the put it on disc or whatever like that. I come from a time where we didn't have patches. It's like you make it for the console and you put it on disc, and what you get is what you get. So QA at that particular time was there were no patching that at the time. um, so my first so I think I did a couple of them, but the one that stands out to me the most is with a company called Midway, and um, this was for Unreal Tournament 2. So let's see. I remember that they warned us ahead of time, hey, we're going to do a 24-hour shift. So if you guys are curious how the pay goes for QA, um, I mentioned in my free course, you guys can see the link below. I have a free course down below. I mentioned that overtime is mandatory. I mentioned that. Um, so 24-hour shift is also likely mandatory. And if you don't do it, then there could be some consequences, which I talk about in that course. So we're all in for it, right before the eve of the game is ready to be shipped off, to be shipped away. So we're working on Unreal Tournament 2, and it's exciting. It's like they were warning us, hey, we're going to do a 24-hour shift at this particular day, so be ready. Kiss your loved ones goodbye. Tell them that you love them. Create your wills, and pet your dogs and stuff. And so we get there, and it's exciting. It's almost like a slumber party. You gotta think of it like a slumber party. Oh, we're gonna stay overnight, with all our friends, and So you bring your backpack with your blanket or whatever because you're going to be tired. You bring your pillow. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like camping. You bring, if you want to bring a change of clothes, you can. You won't be changing clothes. It's not really that important. But you just kind of prepare for it, right? And they'll feed you. That's the good part, is that they'll feed you dinner. I was going to mention about pay. So the way that pay usually works is you get your normal hourly rate, and then when you hit, after that you go into overtime, and then when you hit like a few hours after that, you go into double time. And then all that time in that 24-hour period is just double time. It's just double time. And that's like where it's like, yeah, I'm really, making this paycheck is going to be fantastic. And they generally were, because you're just working. So we get there, we're doing our thing, we're getting everything ready. And it starts out really great. It starts out really strong. And then it comes to a point to where like we find a particular bug, and everybody's like, no, like this can't be, because the idea is that when you're doing it, you shouldn't find any bugs. Like you've been working on this for months. You shouldn't find any bugs. So we get a bug, and we start panicking. No, this can't be. The team's like, hey, can you verify this? Can you verify this? We're all verifying it. Yeah. And so we're kicking ourselves in the butt because it's like we should have found this, because this has to be a clean run. So what happens is everybody panics. We like, stop what you're doing, stop what you're doing. They get on the phone to the developers. We found this, we send it up, and they're like, okay. So it's like this big thing where it's like everybody's on hands. I don't, everybody's paying attention to this. And so, the developers luckily are like, okay, we got to fix for it. We got to fix for it. So an hour later, we got to fix for it. And it's like one of those things where it's very stressful, because this is the time when you're expecting nothing to go wrong. You're expecting to find absolutely nothing. It's imperative that you find absolutely nothing. You find no bugs. Not because you don't find them, but not because they don't exist. That's the hope. That's the desire. And so, we found one particular issue and we're like, okay, we got it. Let's hit the road. We start testing again. It's working. It's fixed. And there's like one other thing, something really small. I forget, it was like text or something. It was something really small, and it's like, no, can we ignore it? No, no, no. And then luckily the devs were on it and they got another, okay, we got it, we got another build back. So it took up like 30-40 minutes to get another build back. By this time, it's like midnight, right? And so the problem, if you know anything about software and you know anything about development, the tricky part is that when they fix something, the likelihood of them breaking something else is likely. It's not always likely, but it's, you can often at times break something by fixing something. So what's exhausting is now that's like past midnight, we're super exhausted. We have to be attentive. We have to pay attention. It's like every time you get a new build, you have to like wipe the slate clean in your mind because something else could be broken somewhere. And you have to start fresh and go, okay, now we got to retest everything. And mind you, you just spent like 8 hours of that time not finding anything. So, 8 hours in of not finding everything as a team, you're a little bit confident. You're like, this is a good build. This is a good build. As soon as you get a new build, you got to have that mentality, I'm starting over again. And so we were about two failures in or something like that. Luckily, that was it. So, midnight comes around. And so what starts happening is that you can really, it went from a very talkative, jokingly, like we're having a good time, to silence because everyone's tired. We're tired. You can tell, I don't know how much fun you can have playing a video game when you're exhausted, but and the clock is going super slow. It's going slowest it's ever been. It's like 3 a.m. and you're not going home until 8 a.m. or 9 or 8 a.m. Whenever you got there, you're not going home until then. So it's like 3 a.m. and then you play for an hour and it's like 3:15 and you're like, I've been here for an hour. How is it 15 minutes later? No, it's just your mind's playing tricks on you. You're exhausted. You're trying to stay awake. So, it went from a fun experience to a mentally stressful experience just trying to stay awake. It'd be one thing if we're used to working 24-hour shifts. It'd be one thing if we're used to working graveyard shifts or working long shifts like that, but we weren't. So we're exhausted. And so it came around about 4 or 5 a.m. The boss is like, okay, let's everybody take a quick break. Take a quick break. Let's take about 30-40 minutes. We haven't found anything. I think we're okay. I think this build's okay. So I go down and there's like various places, this is a video game studio. So there's couches and like little places. And so some people are laying down under their desk. I go fall asleep on the couch. I had every intention of just laying down for 10-15 minutes. So I go lay down on the couch. Obviously I fall asleep. And so, all of a sudden my boss comes in or somebody comes in and it's like, hey man, get up. We got a test. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Like, I fell asleep. I'm sorry. Based on the conditions, I thought this was kind of natural that I would just have a hard time. I would fall asleep so quick. And I didn't necessarily get in trouble, but it was more or less like I came out of that room where the couch was and everybody was up there testing. Because I understand it, though. The boss was like, hey, come back in 20 minutes. Well, I don't have an internal clock. I'm exhausted, right? So everybody came back in whatever period of time. And I was, somebody had to come and get me. And I look like this idiot now because everybody was sitting there working and I was out there having a snooze fest over there. So I got up and I'm like, oh, hey, I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe I could have set the alarm. I don't know. I was tired. Didn't matter. But by that time, that 20-minute little rest there kind of like rejuvenated me, gave me the energy to start back up again. And so I think we got out at 8 or 7. I don't remember whatever time it was, but it was one of those things to where now that we are about a couple hours away, we haven't found any particular problems. This is where everybody gets their second win. We get our second win. We start joking again. We can see the cracks of the sun coming out. We're like, all right, we're doing good. This is gonna be a great build. And so we had a lot of fun. They didn't really feed us from there, but it's one of those things to where sometimes when I do 24-hour shifts or when I just stay up too late, I get like a sour stomach or I get kind of an upset stomach. And so I kind of got that, but it wasn't so bad. But it's like when you're done with it, you're so exhausted, you're so out of it, your mind is so out of it that you feel like there's this like camaraderie that you have with everybody that you've made it through. We've made it through. We did it together, and I'll see you guys, And so you might be wondering, okay, well, did I have to come back to work that day? No, no. What happened was, after that shift was over, we all got to go home, sleep throughout the night, and then come back the day after. And it was pretty good there. But I can't say it was easy. It definitely was not easy. It was mentally exhausting. I think some people got headaches. But yeah, so that was my first experience with a 24-hour shift. Would I recommend it? Not really. Not really. But it's one of those things where if you're, depending on what company you're working for, there is a chance where you are expected to work crazy, crazy hours, maybe even 24-hour shifts. And you kind of have to prepare for it. Hopefully the company will take care of you, maybe give you something to eat, some food, and be a little bit lenient on you. But anyway, if this video had given you any value about the inside of the video game QA life, please hit that like button, subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. I'd love to take a look at them and address them. And I'll see you in the next video.